I think Indian academia is a very thriving community. It is very important that academia gets involved, one, to highlight the issues of MDGs from both perspectives, in terms of gaps and deficits and also in terms of achievements. And when academia gets engaged in terms of doing case studies, actually understanding through the process of research what is going right and how it can be scaled up, and what is going wrong and how it can be corrected. I think that role of academia to engage in the MDG debate and to raise the MDG debate beyond the government and the civil society and have a voice, an independent voice, a research evidence-based voice on MDGs will be a great contribution in the remainder 5 years for the accelerated achievement of MDGs. And hence the premier institutions in India have to play an important role. Universities, research institutions, and not only at the national level but also at the level of the states, at the provincial level, because many MDGs have to be achieved at the provincial level and they are the responsibility of the provincial or the state governments in India. So from that perspective, engaging academia and encouraging them to undertake positive and concrete research on the ground is very useful and very much desired, and that is the way academia can contribute towards accelerated achievement of MDGs. If you look at all the 8 goals, they are all interconnected, interdependent, and they are one of the cross-cutting area across all goals is women. If women are empowered, if women are literate, there is a very clear evidence by various researchers all over the world. A literacy of women has a positive impact on reduction of maternal mortality. A literacy of women has a positive impact in reduction of infant and child mortality. Literacy of women has a positive impact in dealing with the issue of nutrition among children. So women's empowerment is one process by which number of other MDGs could become like a facilitated process. That's why women's empowerment is one of the key building blocks towards achievement of MDGs. That is one. Second, if you really want to build an equitable world where women are in the decision making, women are part of the processes which decide the future and of the society, of the human civilization, then engaging women in all the decision making processes as elected representatives, as high officials in the government departments, in the line ministries of health, education, and it has already seen when India got the 50% reservation in the local bodies for women, those local bodies have performed very well on key issues like accessibility to water, potable water, because those are the issues which affect women. Those local bodies have seen positive changes in terms of maternal mortality, have seen positive changes in terms of focus on education, because women feel empowered to play a role of monitoring the government services and delivery. So I think women's empowerment is a critical kind of a precondition towards achieving MDGs in their fullest sense. The 3 things that all the citizens need to be really engaged in. First, I think the citizens who are already better off in each of our societies have to become conscious that for resilience, for sustainability of development process, we need to bring those who are marginalized, who are excluded, we haven't got the benefit of development on board. So the middle and the upper middle classes have to become aware in support of the entitlement of the poor. So that is one very critical element. The people who have entitlements, who are the ones who should be benefiting from the Millennium Development Goals, those people have to start engaging in the process of monitoring their entitlements. Whether the policies and the budgets which are done at the central government level, at the state government level, whether those policies and budgets are actually translating in real quality goods and services like education, water, health on the ground is something which people themselves can monitor. That's the second thing. And the third thing which is critical is all citizens should hold their political representatives, whether it is members of parliament, members of legislative assembly, accountable to what they deliver as their elected representatives on MDGs. So these are the 3 things: the political process of holding your representatives accountable, monitoring the government delivery, and the middle classes being with the sense of sustainability and resilience participating in encouraging governments for that policy making. I think these are the three very critical ways citizens can engage with the UN Millennium Campaign, and we are actually working with all these sectors to get them on board as a Millennium Campaign. In case of India, the most meaningful geographical unit is, in case of urban sector, it is wards. In case of rural, it is a panchayat. It is the rural cluster of villages. But above that, in terms of the policy making, in terms of budget distribution, it is a district. And in case of the urban sectors, it will be municipalities. So these are the two, because that is where 60 to 70% of the Millennium Development Goals are delivered. Primary education, primary health, water, sanitation, all these are responsibilities of the local governments. So the local government unit is a critical unit to be engaged. Unfortunately, because the devolution process that was launched in India under the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment have not been fully functional, these units are left out of this engagement process, and the discussion about MDGs is still at the level of the federal or the central government. So localization of MDGs, empowering local government units towards delivery of MDGs is a critical pathway for accelerated achievement of MDGs in the next 5 years. For the upcoming September summit, we are focusing on three critical issues. One critical issue that we want that all governments agree at the summit between 20th to the 22nd of September is that they sign off, that all of them undertake, rather they go to the summit with the breakthrough national plans for achieving MDGs. So breakthrough national plans by every government. Rich countries' government to breakthrough national plans on their delivery on Goal 8, on issue of ODA, on issue of debt cancellation, on issue of making trade fair for developing countries. And for the poorer countries and developing countries like India, breakthrough plans in how will they bridge the gaps that they have in their respective countries towards MDG achievement. So one is breakthrough plans. Second is very critically the whole issue of bringing in the inequality discourse as part of MDG discourse. Because when you look at MDGs as national aggregates, it hides the realities in case of, say, women, in case of India in relation to Dalits, in relation to scheduled tribes, in relation to nomadic tribes, because in relation to Muslim minority. Because these are the groups where the concentration of poverty, concentration of illiteracy, concentration of disease, concentration of non-access to potable water and sanitation is. So if you do not bring in the whole issue of disparity and inequality as part of the Millennium Development Goals discourse, you will have national averages which will claim success, but which will hide the real face of poverty. So that is the second point which we are focusing, and we want inequality as a recognized concept as part of the outcome document in the summit. And the third outcome that we are looking for and pushing all governments and all citizens campaigns to focus on is the accountability, which is two levels of accountability. One, accountability of the rich countries to the poor countries in terms of they delivering on quality and quantity of aid, they are undertaking debt cancellation, they are undertaking fairer practices in trade, which would mean that European community, United States, reducing their agriculture subsidies so that the agriculture produce from developing countries can reach those markets, and the developing countries can have trade as a way out of poverty as far as they are concerned. So that is one level of accountability, accountability of the rich countries to the poor countries. And the second level of accountability is the governments in the poor and the developing countries being accountable to their citizens. And that's where I talk about citizens monitoring their entitlements on the ground. Because these two levels of accountabilities will ensure that the global compact that the Millennium Development Goals are will be truly enforceable by peer pressure across the 192 nation states who are members of the United Nations. And I'm pretty confident that if the summit outcomes are forward-looking, and if they are concentrating on what has worked in last 10 years, how it can be scaled up and how it can be replicated in other countries, we would have a much stronger positive impact over the next 5 years, because it's still quite a bit of period. It's 1/3 of the period that countries have towards pushing, giving that last push towards achieving MDGs.